Thank you, Cheryl, for singing this song with me again. You know, Cheryl and I have been friends for over 35 years. And when you've been in another person's life that long, you're certainly and definitely changed by the experience. And actually, if I give anyone credit for my spiritual awakening, Cheryl deserves kind of a big chunk of that, because she was the very first person I ever knew who found the science of mind. And although at the time I wasn't very interested in hearing about it, once I found it for myself, we started talking about spiritual topics, and we've really never stopped, have we? You know, we talk and grow through life experience after life experience, and we always keep God as our perspective. And I trust her with my deepest life, and I have definitely been changed for the good for this very long journey that we've had together. But I don't think it has to do with longevity. I believe that each and every person that comes into our lives crosses our paths for our good. Each person is a teacher, and every one of them is also a student. And each one is an expression of God drawn into your experience for your good, for your growth, for your betterment. And I truly believe that, and I encourage you to look at everyone that way as well. You know, life twists and turns. And along the way, you know, people kind of pop into your experience just kind of in your circumstances just perfectly. And, you know, someday when we're evolved enough, we'll be able to look at each and every one of them and welcome them in, just kind of curious as to what they're bringing to our lives, to our lessons, and to our good. You know, sometimes when I meet a new person, or perhaps sometimes when a connection that I have with someone, you know, just kind of takes a deeper dive, I wonder, what have I been praying for that brought this situation or this person into my life in a different way? You know, what have I been seeking to learn or expand or release, for that matter, that I've drawn this person in to help me create that or help me step into that? And when I ask those kinds of questions, I can get curious and open to whatever the person is bringing. By asking those kinds of questions, I acknowledge that every relationship, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may be, is divine and on purpose. And I acknowledge that no matter how painful or challenging a person can be, they are here for my good. And so I wanted to sing that song to you, my spiritual family, this morning, because I know that you and you and you and you and all of you are in my life for my betterment, for my blessing, for my good. You changed me, you evolved me, you are teaching me to be a better me and a better minister and a better leader, week by week, month by month, moment by moment. And I know that that is reciprocal, because that's how Spirit works. My good cannot stand alone, separate from your good, right? We may not always experience each other as easy, but our relationship is holy and blessed, and I call forth that, especially when we show up with each other and we give ourselves an opportunity to do our work together. You might ask, but what is our work? What are you talking about, Laine? In my perspective, our work in this lifetime is to free ourselves from any false limitations that we have placed on ourselves. See, every one of us have had experiences, often very young, but sometimes just yesterday. We have experiences that happen every day that cause us to doubt our magnificence. They cause us to forget our divine nature and cause us to play small. And in the face of these hard experiences, we develop a false story about ourselves. It's not true. A story that we are somehow wounded and damaged and unworthy, and we're separate from other human beings, and we must somehow protect ourselves in the world as we move about. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Maybe it's just me. But anyway, our work is to start to remember who we really, really are. Our work is to find our soul tribe, to find those people that can help us wake up from the illusion that we are separate. And remember that we're part of the one. Divine in every way, powerful beyond measure. Our work is to find the courage to open up our closed off hearts and allow the love to flow in and out as it was created to express. That's our work. Our work is to return to love, to return to God, to return to our inherent nature of goodness and fearlessness. That's our work. And when we find our spiritual tribe, when we find each other, we're in a safe place to do our work with other people. And it's in this group that we can let the walls around our heart begin to crumble and fall. We can let go of those protective beliefs and fears. And starting with a spiritually supportive setting, we can have a taste of what it is like to fully love ourselves and let ourselves be seen. To try our fearlessness and our magnificence on for size. And the more diverse our community is, the more expansive the opportunity is to relate to a wider sense of community and humanity. So each and every person that I meet here is to allow me to do my work in relationship with them. That's why diversity, which is our theme for the month, is such a high value to me and a high value to our center. It is only in the appreciation of diversity that we can appreciate everything that we are inside of ourselves. So we have a book of the month every month, and this month the author of the book is Tracy Brown, and she's a colleague of mine, and I know and love her very much, and she wrote this. Ignoring the beauty and value and uniqueness of different types of people is equivalent to ignoring God as it shows up as humanity. We don't do that with dogs. We don't do that with flowers or trees or clouds or spices or nature or art. So why should we do it with humans? Right? So the more beings we can embrace into our hearts, the bigger our hearts can become. And our hearts remain small when we keep so much of ourselves, because whatever's in the other is really in ourselves. And if we're pushing that out there beyond the circle of our acceptability and love, then we're limiting the size of our hearts. We're limiting our flow. But I haven't always had this spiritual perspective. I've just kind of developed it through my whole life, including my childhood. So I'll share with you that right here today in this new spanking clean center with fresh paint smell and carpet and all that, I feel right at home because I moved a lot as a child. I moved a lot. I went to 10 different schools as a child, and if you add in colleges, it goes to 14, okay? So we moved constantly. You know, moving is kind of exciting for me. You know, I just love this fresh beginning. So as I said, today is really cool. Change is good as far as I'm concerned. I like change. And all of that moving and changing taught me so much. It taught me a lot. Almost every single time we moved to a new house, I changed schools. I didn't go a whole year in a school, much less more than one. And now see, when I was very, very young, I didn't know any better, and I just thought that was so much fun. You know, I just moved with joy and excitement, and I would just rush around and find my new room in the new house, and I would, with great anticipation, I would just place everything and try to make it feel like me, kind of like what I did here. And I would search the blocks for the children, like, where are my friends? I know I'm going to find my friends, and I would just look around till I find one. And I would always find a new best friend pretty quickly. Probably because I'm an extrovert and really darn talkative. Anyway, as I got older, I started getting attached to friends and to teachers and to situations, and moving got tougher. You know, the lessons got bigger. And as my attachments grew stronger and more intense, I began to resist the moves. I began to resent my father and his stupid job, right? I began to make the moves about someone else. This is about my dad. I'm just being dragged along through the process. It was somebody else that was happening, somebody else's motivations. It had nothing to do with me. All I wanted was familiarity. All I wanted was my friends and my activities. And I began to doubt whether I could recreate a sense of belonging and acceptance again. I began to see myself as different from the new faces around me, especially when I was 12. We moved from Colorado in this little Mayberry kind of town, a rural, tiny town in northern Florida. very backward and weird, I'll just say that. So instead of loving my new room in that move, I despised it. The school in that little town was underfunded. There were only 800 kids, kindergarten through 12. So, yeah, they didn't have anything. And all the things that gave me joy, like band and Girl Scouts and roller skating and having friends on the block, that little town had none of that, none of it. They were just nowhere. So it took me a long time to accept that particular move. And if I'm really honest, I probably never really accepted it, but as a result, I began to shut down and I began to tell myself my own personal version of that story of I don't belong, I'm separate, this is not working for me. And then my soul was off on its journey to begin doing its work to refine myself, to find that center again. So with a spiritual perspective now, I can look back and see what I learned about moving and changing. I learned that wherever you go, there you are, right? You know what I mean? You know, your personality and what I call your magic suit, it goes with you wherever you go. It carries your spirit, your inner essence into new settings. And I would decide, like, okay, at the next school, I would not get in trouble for talking too much, right? At the next best friend, I wouldn't be so bossy and I would share better, right? With the new room, I would keep it neater and all that, and the reality was I was pretty much the same person wherever I went, right? But it wasn't until I started telling myself a different story about myself that I showed up differently. My inner world created my outer world experiences. See, my resistance and my adolescent hormonal general crappiness is what made that last move really hard, really. It wasn't the small town in Florida and all the lack of everything fun that made it hard. It was my internal world that made whatever was out there really hard. So I really did find out eventually that your thoughts create your experience, and now I teach that, but it took me a while to figure that out. I also learned this. As long as I was blaming change on someone else, I could never truly benefit from the change. As long as I was pushing it away and making it not about me, I couldn't grow from it. It wasn't until I realized that my good was never left out of the equation, until I realized that my soul had also brought this situation into being for my benefit and for other people's benefits, including my father and his stupid job, right? That I could expand into the new circumstance and grow from it. I had to learn to stop playing like I was a passive passenger in my life and realize that I was part of the creative process and that my experience would be whatever I would make it to be. I also learned about the law of attraction because through all the moving that I did, I could look back and I could see that as I marched around those new city blocks expecting to find my new best friend, then Joan or Susie or Audrey would just kind of show up almost magically, right? As I developed the anticipation of finding my new best teacher, then Mrs. Hill or Mr. Surrency or Miss Hook would just show up, right? But on the flip side, when I began to see myself as separate, when I began to see myself as not fitting in, then somehow I blocked that good from easily showing up. Again, my thoughts created my experience. But if I go back to my original point was that everyone crosses your life and is doing so for your benefit. And when I look at that, I can look at each of the people that were a part of my experiences, even as a child, and know that they showed up at the right and perfect time to be a part of my lessons and to be a part of my growth. If, as I asserted, I was here in this magic suit to learn the lesson of oneness, then I needed each experience to teach me a different aspect of that. You know, I needed each child along the way to play their role in helping me understand a feeling of belonging and that feeling of separateness, because to understand a thing, you often have to look at a thing from several different perspectives. I needed the bullying experiences, but I also needed the bestie friend experience. I needed the new teachers that just loved me instantly, and the ones that thought I didn't really learn the concept very well in the last school and I was just being difficult. I needed each crush, and I needed each rejection, each hard relationship and each easy one. And all of them had value to my soul, even though on a human level I was judging each one as either good or bad. See, what we do is we want to cling to one kind of person. We want to cling to that easy person and keep them forever in our lives. You know, if I loved and cherished an experience with someone, I'm known, I'm a lifelong loyal friend, right? And sometimes the person does decide to stay around, like Cheryl did. But others that I have cherished are not in my life at this moment and have abandoned me. And there's just another lesson in that, right? And then there are those kinds of people that you just want to push away. You're like, oh, you're so difficult. I don't appreciate you. I just want you out. These are the people that hurt me or that I experience pain around, and I just want them gone, and I want them away, and that's so normal. But if we can ever get to the point of being able to look at each and every person as changing us for the good, whether they're in our lives for a moment or many lifetimes, we'll begin to bless them and release all people to have their experience with us for as long as it takes to get to the good that they're here to bring, right? But that's our internal spiritual assignment. One of the biggest spiritual practices we can have is non-attachment. Non-attachment is that open-heartedness to allow people to flow in and flow through our experiences without trying to hold it in place or push it away. Accepting that this moment is what it is. This relationship is what it is. Whether it's joyful or difficult or something in between, and you're just allowing it to express and give to you whatever it's here to give you. If we can step into that, then our lives become freer, and people are more easily moving in and out with ease. And the other spiritual practice that is so helpful as we're learning non-attachment is radical forgiveness. This relationship is exactly as it should be, so I forgive myself for wanting it to be different, and I forgive the other person for not being what I had hoped they would be, right? And when we combine those two practices, non-attachment and forgiveness, relationships can change us for the good every single time. So as we enjoy this first morning in our new home, I invite you to be like the little girl Laine. You know, rush around into every room and find your favorite spots and go touch the walls that you blessed a few months ago and bless them again. Enjoy your first cup of coffee and your new tables out there and your nibbles and the cakes that Lori got this morning in the new kitchen. You know, and we're in this new spot in town, so let's drive these streets expecting that we're going to run into those people that are going to come and be our friends and sit beside us in this space. We're going to have to get more chairs. I don't know about that. But welcome everything new. Welcome everything new. Be where you are. Lean in. Play big. And just be in this new home. You bless these walls. Now give them your heart. You supplied these chairs. Now let them hold you in transformation. You created this holy ground for yourself. So stand firmly in it. Week after week, month after month, and we can do our work together. But mostly importantly, I invite you to open your hearts. We have attracted to our community and will continue to attract to our community new faces who are looking for their good, yes, but are also bringing good to us. Some will choose to stay and do the work for a long time with us, and some will pass through on their way to something calling them further. And our practices are non-attachment and forgiveness. And I want to remind you of our diversity statement that is on our website. It says this: to grow spiritually, you must feel included. Center for Spiritual Living Tampa Bay celebrates all forms of diversity. Our members create a rich tapestry of all ages, religious backgrounds, ethnicities, and all sexual and gender expressions. Your unique individuality is exactly what we need to be the most magnificent spiritual family in the Tampa Bay area. Come be authentically you with us. So just in case you never get on our website, you know now what we stand for and what our invitation is to you. And maybe I should add the phrase, and you'll be changed for the good, right? So I'll close this morning with the first thing written on the pages of the Science of Mind textbook. May we hold these words today and always in our community hearts. Peace be unto thee, stranger, and enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, very warm, I might add, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is also here. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you, where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. Welcome to your new home, where we can all do our work together. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And so it is.
And so it is.